There you
Okay,
go.
welcome to High Vibration, and we're going to start out by going into the silence for a few moments. And one of the ways I like to do it is to intone, take 3 breaths, intone the name of God, the holiest name of God, and your name, which is I am, and then we'll be in the silence, and then we'll begin to raise the vibration. So blow out, then I am. I am. I am. Well, it's a beautiful thing to be in the silence. I could stay there and say nothing, but in this world we seem to have a place for word vibration, and want to say that I am so appreciative of having the understanding that I'm being crucified in the personality. It's being eliminated in terms of attachment, and that brilliance of life is therefore greatly permitted to shine through. And life is so incredible that way. Life is so beautiful that way. Life is so easy that way. Life is so magnificent that way. That's the divine plan and the original intention of life. And by the grace of that brilliance that put 400 billion galaxies into existence and runs them with ease, it certainly has been running this vehicle, this body-mind, with a lot of ease since I've been more greatly participating in erasing my attachments and my desires and my whatever, and letting it shine. And that wisdom is so simplistic. It's so simple. A child understands it, but it seems like a lot of human beings don't get it yet. They will.
That's right.
They will. That's the divine destiny, and it's smarter than anything else, so nothing can escape it, and everything happens in its own perfect time. But it's nice to know that you can rest in peace about the whole process, and you don't have to stress about the insanity and the challenges and what it looks like in the third dimension, because a lot of it doesn't look all that good, but it's in good hands. So with that, I'm going to introduce, I like to keep my things brief. I mean, that what I shared is enough wisdom if practiced to take you to eternity and back. I'm going to introduce Daniel Raphael, who has a new book called Social Sustainability, a Handbook for Community Builders, which is both out in ebook and also in a regular book. And this show is called High Vibration, so I think this gets Daniel high, and I'm going to let him share some of his wisdom with you. So go ahead, Daniel.
Any particular topic?
Anything you want to share, anything that comes through is that you feel is worthy of getting out to whoever this will go to, please do so.
Okay. We've heard that we are all one from many sources. Buddhist, Lao Tse, Christian mystics, other mystics all over the world. We are one. And it's true. And what I've discovered, and I've shared in that book, is that there are 3 core values that unite all humankind and that have prompted and promoted and urged our species to succeed, meaning to progress individually and collectively. and that is the first value is quality of life. I challenge anybody anywhere in the world to go to any place in the world, talk to anybody, and ask them if they would appreciate or like to have a better quality of life. And regardless of the race, culture, nationality, ethnicity, or gender, everyone universal, that's important, says the same thing, that they want an improving quality of life. And then they usually challenge me and they go, well, gosh, that's really wonderful. I guess you're right. Everybody wants one, but how do I improve my situation? And I said, well, that requires you to exercise the second core value of your human nature that is common to our whole species, and that is growth. You need to grow. To grow is to be human. I mean, we want to grow. We want to, and what that's about is we want to express the innate capacity, potential within us that we brought into the world. And whether you're an electrician, you have wired houses, and you think, well, I want to go back to school. I want to be electronic engineer. I want to design the architecture of microchips. Whoa, big difference between houses and microchips. And so the person goes to school, learns all those things, grows into that capacity, and it becomes part of a team to design the architecture of microchips, whether it's for your car or for a CPU in your desktop or something bigger. And so that is universal too, that we want to express and develop the potential within us. And the only way to have an improving quality of life is to express and develop your potential. Whether you want to move from a 2-bedroom house into a 9-bedroom house, or whether you want to teach your children teach your children Russian at home so they can read Russian manuscripts in the original or Aramaic. People want to grow. And and then the next question the person would ask, well, yes, but my neighbor down the street, he's got a Ferrari, he's got a Mercedes-Benz, and he got the best BMW going. And how come he has that and I don't have that? And that has to do with equality. Equality is the third value that we want in our life, is we want to express and develop our potential and our quality of life with the same equal methods, means as our neighbors. And then the listener goes to, one moment, my dog is singing up. Hang on.
I know how it is with dogs. I was just taking care of two. Go ahead.
Sorry. So, and the person says, well, how is it that some people, they interpret their quality of life differently than I do? And there's the whole crux of human nature and how we express ourselves. What may be an improved quality of life for one person is 850i BMW, and for me it is a 12-year-old Honda Civic that is totally reliable, right? And that's my quality of life, and how I interpret that is up to us. What gets convoluted in this oneness is the people's interpretation. What happens too is that we are not taught we're not enculturated in our childhood by our parents or by the schools or any other authority in the oneness of us all. If we were all educated and enculturated with these three values, then we would see the similarities and the likeness that we have with other people, and we'd see our oneness. And it would become incredibly self-evident rapidly when people deviate from what is the quality of life for themselves and excludes other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? That's selfishness. The selfishness becomes immediately identifiable when you begin to learn the oneness of life, the three core values of life, and that when people interpret that for themselves in selfish ways, that excludes other people. It's about me, not you. But the oneness of all is that I want a higher quality of life for you as I do for myself. And so I value you. This is where the ultimate equality comes involved, is I value you with the same method of I value the measure of myself. No different. We need you here. You, as an individual, Michael Robbins, in your development, you are now a huge social asset to our society and our community. And that in a socially sustainable society, people are valued as social assets that have the potential to make contributions to their own life and also to the lives of other people. That's huge. I mean, if you're a business owner, which you've been, if you have a pizza parlor, you buy this old building, and you walk in there and you go, wow, this is my pizza parlor. And the first thing you do is to make improvements. Better advertising, better equipment. You want to have the best ingredients. You want to have good clean bathrooms. That's a signature of who you are and what you are, and where your values are. Clean tables and so on. And so you invest in your physical material assets as a business owner. Now, in a society, the inventory, these assets are people. Now, if you don't invest in your assets to improve the quality of service, or in this case, the participation of people in their society, then you are letting things go slack. And you're just hoping that the inventory that you had in the social assets that come into being have the same value as they were 80 years ago. What was the work ethic 80 years ago? What was the lifestyle 80 years ago? What was the self-discipline 80 years ago? It was huge. Where is it now? Much different. Okay? So it's a much different system. And so a society that wanted to move into social sustainability, even long before that, they would want to move into social stability and peace. They would begin enculturating children and young adults who are going to have children in the ways that they would enculturate them in the values of oneness and point out how to live this and how to make decisions. Mm-hmm. I just recently finished a paper on policy development, policy formulation, and it has all to do with making decisions. If the quality of your decision-making is poor, the results will be poor. If you have conflicts in your social structure, conflicts between groups of people in your society, it's because your policy formulation is inadequate and doesn't include everybody. And why is that? That comes into existence because of biases. Sometimes biases are seen, sometimes they're not seen. Oftentimes biases and prejudices are assumed. Assumed. So what we want in the future for our societies to extend this wisdom is people who assume social stability, assume that others will act out in good ways, that each individual will make a contribution with their life so that collectively the lives of everyone is improved. Mm-hmm. That is not idealistic. This is practical. We can do it. The means is there. The means
we are doing it. I think we are doing it. I think there are more aware people on the planet in line with that than there ever has been, even though things are in, if you look at the outer, not seemingly aligned with that. Yet there's a lot of awareness emerging at this time.
Yes, yes. I was talking to a young man in Chicago this morning, and he was saying, well, how can we make a difference? And I said, well, you need to focus on the positive and find people like yourself. I said to him, you personally have brought to me many people, you have brought my attention to many people who I'd call dots, connecting the dots of positive growth. Mm-hmm. There are more now than have ever existed. Mm-hmm. You can find them on the TED Talks. You can find them on peace movements. The paper that I wrote on policy also has to do with compassion. And that there are many groups who are involved in compassion. the individual I sent this to is at Stanford University, Dr. Doty, D-O-T-Y. And he is the founder of the Institute of Compassion at Stanford University, one of the most highly regarded universities in the world. And so I agree with you, Michael. There's hundreds of them. The common thread that unites us all, who can bring us together, our efforts together, so they're all going in one direction, I think is the oneness of us all, those values.
Yes. You might be interested in this. Yesterday is a very interesting story. And when you get in this place of oneness and openness to that oneness, miracles start to happen, synchronicities. Yesterday,
yes,
there was a person in New York City who met a Michael Robbins in New York City and found him very interesting. So he went looking for him on LinkedIn, and he found me. And he called me up, and he is bringing consciousness into the universities. So, and there was a tremendous energy in our connection, and it's somebody that I think you might be interested in connecting with. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, could you imagine if people now got doctorates in consciousness? That would be very different. That would be a very different kind of PhD. And
yes,
could you imagine if that went into all the schools? I mean, if schools taught happiness, if the schools taught oneness, if schools taught things that would transform the world. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, that was very serendipitous. That's a wonderful coincidence. But of course.
Right. And they just happen all the time. And the more surrendered you become to the brilliance that put 400 billion galaxies into existence and runs them easily, it wants to express through everyone that will be open to it. And we have a lot of conditioning that blocks it, so we need to remove those things that are in the way that don't work, that block the awareness of the oneness.
And that is usually something that we learned or did not learn in our youth. And I've been a holistic life coach since 2003, I guess about 12, 13 years now. And the self-awareness is key to change and development. It becomes aware of yourself as, I have this deficit. I have something I need to overcome. That's consciousness. You become aware of yourself, and whether it's self-observation, become conscious of yourself. I'm not talking about self-consciousness, but self-consciousness. And so when we grasp that, then that is a mighty powerful time for immense internal and personal change.
Yes. Well, at this point, we could keep on talking for a long time about this. I like to keep these fairly short because people's attention spans are short. They don't have much time to watch things too long. So I keep them to basically we've shared a lot of wisdom, which if anyone took it in, it would be life transformational. Even people who are doing this, it's wonderful to be reminded because we have a lot of conditioning that reminds us other. So the reminders that you shared and what was shared here are very viable, very powerful, and will make a great difference. I will put you in touch with that gentleman in consciousness. I think there's a connection there in the universities. So with that, is there anything else briefly that have we pretty much formed the circle, or is there anything else you want to input before we close?
Last thing is that the book that you mentioned that I wrote and is on the market would help people understand social justice, social equity, what is fair, and the common good. If people have an interest in that, there's much in there that can be useful for them.
Excellent.
Thank you,
and I
Michael.
trust the book will make a big difference in touching many people's lives and to help to transform the world into the paradise that it's meant to be.
And it can be too.
Yes, can be. So with that, I thank you very much. I'm going to take us off, and really appreciate you giving your time and sharing your wisdom. And thanks again so much, and peace on the journey.
Thank you for the invitation. Peace.